Welcome to Hornets Sports Buzz, episode number 18. I'm pleased to have Joe Russo join us tonight. He's the Mansfield High School Athletic Director. Welcome, Joe.
Nice
Thanks
to see
for
you
coming
again,
on.
Jack. Always a pleasure.
It's as you may know, Joe was here episode 10. We've done like 7 shows in the winter, and he's a returning guest, so it's good. Only the special people get invited back.
I know, and I'm pleased to be one of the special ones.
That's good. So we're gonna do. We could talk a long time with Joe because he's the man when it comes to Mansfield High School sports. We're gonna 4 sections maybe is review the winter season, the sports season, quick preview of the spring sports season, talk a little bit about some boosters events that are going on that relates to Mansfield High School athletics, and then just kind of the miscellaneous questions that I like to ask randomly. And then fifthly, like Joe's got some other information that he wants to share.
Sure.
But if it's okay with you, Joe,
Yeah.
we'll jump right into the winter season.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Did you want to start with a particular sport, or do we just kind of
I could
what works
either,
best for you?
I could either trick you, but I mean, we can go individually. But
Okay.
again, another successful season for Mansfield
Yeah.
High School sports.
The winter was exciting. I was kind of going through everything, and we had 5 Hawk championships, and then 2 second place finishes in the Hawk. Our first place was boys basketball, wrestling, indoor track, outdoor track, and gymnastics. The special one, they're all special, but the real special one was wrestling because it's our first ever in dual meets to come out and get that championship. It's to beat Franklin, perennial state power, and then to also in a non-league during the season beat North Attleboro. But anytime you can go on the Kelly Rec side, go undefeated and win the league, and to do it for the first time is pretty special, is very special. And then the amount of work that Coach DeSanto did as the head coach, and the parents, this is kind of like probably like a 6 or 7 year build. Coach Farley. And I don't want to miss. I'm going to stay away from saying a lot of names because you'll
Yeah.
forget somebody. But the wrestling parents of a great number of our seniors and juniors started really building a youth program, and those guys did a lot of youth tournaments in the middle school, and then continued to get better. And over these particular athletes worked very hard to get to the point where we were a force. This much in the state. I mean, we won South Sectional, came in second in the East, and then in the division. And I know I'm probably going to get one of the headings wrong. Yeah. And then third overall in the state. And that's really something, to go from where we were under coach and what the parents and coach put together, and in 5 years to be where we are now is really special. So that was. Really, I mean, everything's special, but that had us really to be a first, and then not only to be a first to win the league championship, but to be back-to-back South Sectional champions, then to place in the South, in the Eastern Mass, and then to go on and do what they did at the state level is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great place to start. I, of course, went off the Hawk website, and I have the teams, and I have their record, the wrestling team, 20-9, and that's a little deceiving because you said they ran the table in the Kelly Recs, and they do a lot of try and quad meets.
Right, so they'll do quads and
Yeah.
tries. So on a particular Saturday, they could go 4-0. They could have 4 different meets on a Saturday and win all 4. So yeah, it's deceiving. They didn't have 29, 30 dates in the season.
Right.
We probably had 7 or 8 duels. And then the rest were quads or bigger meets.
We had Coach Mark DeSanto and his captains, Jaden Curley and George Glaropoulos. And, as you know, if you watch the show, you've been on here, and as I know the way you are, we focus on teams. But a couple of shout-outs. Those are phenomenal captains. They were pure gentlemen on the show. And Jaden, correct me if I'm wrong, he won the New England as an individual.
Right.
And they're trying to get him to go to the Nationals.
Right, he's trying to piece something together. It's really not with Mansfield High
Okay.
School because the season's over and the MIA season's over and the New England part's over. But he can go on to the Nationals and represent Mansfield, but not Mansfield High School. He's still representing Mansfield, but not any. And in a sense, is representing Mansfield High School, but truly he's going on his own and seeing where he is at the national level.
That's great, and good luck to him.
Yes.
And Coach Mark DeSanto, I think he wrestled in 03, 04.
Yes.
So it must be, I know he's been part of the program even when he was assistant coach, and to be a wrestler himself and to be a Mansfield native or most of his life, so rewarding. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, the team kind of reflects Mark. I remember Mark as an athlete, and he was definitely he overachieved, and he worked hard, and he was focused, and he worked very hard as an athlete, and especially as a wrestler. And I think his personality is all over that team because they very much wrestle like Mark did.
Yeah, and he's everybody's light competitive, but I think he wrestled at the 106, 113.
Yeah, I think he was the
Small
same way for 4 years.
Yeah.
I don't know how he did it, but he did it.
That's impressive.
I don't know if they could still do that. I think there's different rules now, but as far as monitoring weight, I don't know how he went from football season at one weight and then got down to 106. But whatever he did, and he did it well.
Yeah.
And we'll leave it there.
He explained a little to us. So I'll jump around here.
Okay.
So trick you. All right, like now we'll do. There's no wrestling side in wrestling. I'm a girls side. Sorry. We'll go to girls hockey, and we had Roy Bain on a couple months ago. I have written down they were 9, 9, and 3, which, assuming certain rules, they qualify for the tournament.
Yes, they entered the tournament. They had actually a phenomenal year. They competed hard in every game. They played. I enjoy going to all the games, but they play a great style of hockey. The special thing about our hockey team is it's a co-op, so we're with Foxborough and Easton, Oliver Ames High School. The first thing all the coaches have to deal with, you have 3 different towns. These girls also compete against each other in soccer and other soccer or field hockey or whatever. Then they do such a phenomenal job. When you go to the banquet, you would have no idea where each girl's from, and they really support each other, and they play, and then they get the season going, and then they just came together. They bond well, and they compete at a high level. I know they're 500 at the end, but they did up their schedule this year. They added like teams like Longmeadow and a few others, Walpole. So they're, and then the normal Hockomock powers in Canton and Franklin, and they compete very well against them, and they play a good brand of hockey. It's fast. They're really a great group to come and see and watch. And Coach Bain did an outstanding job of leading them, and it's been a fantastic season.
Yeah, we had him and the captains on, and I don't want to mispronounce their names. I know one was from Mansfield, 2 from Foxborough. But, I asked about the checking, and there's no checking, but there is a little physicality.
Well, it's interesting. We have a few girls on our team, and like everybody does in every sport, and they play on the edge, and they can make a good pick into a nice little bump. And, I think they're allowed to set picks, and they can bump, but they can't be the lowering of the shoulder and going through someone. But every once in a while, a few of our girls will get a penalty just sending a message to the other team if they felt something happened to us. And, it's, but they as far as pure boys shoulder check or hitting someone, they kind of stay away from that.
It's good. And Coach Roy Bain's another example of how he said he's been with the program since the start. I want to say it's 7, 8, 9 years. The Arnold family got involved, and the O'Haras, and he was an assistant coach. So it's somebody that puts their time in, that loves the sport, just like Coach DeSanto.
Yeah, I remember when the program first started, and he'd be up in the bleachers and taking stats and running things down to Greg and Coach O'Hare and then sharing things, and then after a while he was on the bench, and then last year when one of our parents, their kids were done, their daughters were done, he's kind of came up to me and the other ADs in the league, the Foxborough AD and the Oliver Ames AD, and said, I'm ready to kind of jump in, and we sat with him, and he had a great vision and a great personality for it. So he put his time in, and he did it, and he's already excited about next year. He's talking to the kids and at the banquet, and already recruiting parents to help, and so it should be a good run next year as well.
That's great. We'll get back to the parents, because you've talked to them obviously about the wrestling and girls hockey. I know they're involved in everything, but we'll talk more about that. We won't go totally off let's go boys hockey.
Okay.
Another team that made the playoffs.
Right.
I have 14, 6, and 3.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Second in the Kelly Rex.
Correct.
We don't want to say who won the Kelly Rex,
Correct.
but Ken. I mean, sorry.
Franklin.
Franklin. Canton had a phenomenal
Yeah,
season,
they
winning
won the state championship.
Division II state
last
championship.
Sunday.
Yeah, that's amazing. But
Yeah.
the boys hockey made the tournament. Let me ask you this before we get into that. Why do all the tournament games, why do they play down in Gallo Arena?
I think honestly, I think the coaches like it.
Do they?
One, it's a great facility for a tournament game. The ice is great. The facility is great. The locker rooms are good.
Okay.
And there's a good vibe because they'll run multiple games. So we played Franklin, and before us there was a game, and after us there's a game. So there's constantly people in the rink, and they pulled towns down there that they think are going to draw well and bring a good crowd. And so we, and in some ways, I think it's kind of a goal to get to that rink because that's usually where the serious hockey's played this time of year.
Well, that's good to know because I haven't really been down there, or at least in a long time, and I just think it's got to be old. It's been around forever. But if you're a hockey person, you want to go there.
It is an older rink.
Yeah.
I mean, if you drove by on your way to the beach and you're going towards the Sagamore Bridge, it looks old. But inside, they've done a great job. It's when I started as AD, it was wooden bleachers, and now they've upgraded the bleachers to similar to what we have in our gym with the plastic. And it's always well painted. It's always well maintained, and great viewing because you're up high, so you can see down to the action. And it's a great spot for the tournament games.
All right, we'll talk about the tournament game quickly, but Coach Mike Balzerini, I think it's his second or third year.
He just finished his third.
Okay, that's a great job. And they get off to a really phenomenal start, and some non-league games. They played the Winthrops and some other. They play a hard schedule, like basketball does. And
they did. Their schedule is good. I mean, you always predicted to. Sometimes you schedule people that you think they're going to be better and they're not as good, and people they don't think are going to be so good tend to. Everything changes year in year out. But when we sit and make a schedule, we try to find teams that are Division I and like some little basketball and all of our sports, and who would challenge us to make the tournament. Yeah. But also keeping in mind, in our league, we have some very strong programs. I mean, we already talked about Franklin Canton, but Oliver Ames tied us with second place. KP is always tough on us. On the other side, North Attleboro, and and everybody, and I've mentioned the teams we play twice, and so it's never an easy ride to get through, and then to get 14 wins in any sport, is a great accomplishment, and the seniors did a great job this year getting us to that point, and it was again a fun season. The kids played a good style of hockey, and you lose to Franklin in overtime. It's what can you do? It's you get to that point where where we had opportunities, they had opportunities, and they got the last one. So that's the frustrating part.
Yeah, just being a fan at home, and again, my son graduated last year. I knew a lot of the hockey players from last year, and I was surprised because they graduated a lot of talent.
Yeah.
But it's just like a typical of the Mansfield sport. They just rebuild, and they had a good group of seniors and underclassmen too.
And it's I think we'll get in maybe to it later, but I've always said, it feeds off itself. I think one grade graduates and the next grade kind of takes on that we want to be as good or better, and the coaches do a good job in the off season, and I haven't really talked to a lot of the winter coaches, but in the next couple of weeks we'll start, believe it or not, talking about next winter. So there's a lot of time put in, and that's what keeps them at that level.
That's great. As you know, I'm not good at segues. We're going to go to a team, the swimming team. Okay. Unfortunately, they're one of the few teams in Mansfield that did not have a winning record, and I didn't have the coaches on there.
Yeah.
And I don't
so John Riome, the history teacher at Mansfield High School, is the head coach. They're actually a good group. One of the things, swim's like track.
Yeah.
If you have lots of numbers, you compete better at track, you compete better at swim. Our numbers are solid, but not great. And I don't know what the reason is, other than, swim is one of those sports you pick up when you're little, and if you love it, and you keep going. Yeah. But we had some great things happened with the team, and that I think we ended up, the boys had one win, the girls didn't, but just kind of, I kind of brushed up my notes on swim. So on the girls' side, Jen Pryor had a great year. She made sectionals and states, and she was a great senior. We also, the girls in the 200 and 400 freestyles qualified for sectionals and states, and Jen Pryor and Laura Chaffee, seniors, and then a couple sophomores were on that group as well. They had a great go of it, and then we had, and then on the boys' side, we had no one qualify for the states, but Aiden Schwartz had a great season, and a couple other underclass, and Mike Peel. So it's funny like that. It's an individual sport and a team sport at the same time. I think obviously, if people are looking for a sport or if they do swim, we have a swim team, and I know John Reum, our coaches, and have been working and trying to get the numbers up, inviting kids to practice and trying to the thing with swim, if you can swim, they can make you a better swimmer, and if you are a good swimmer, they'll make you a better swimmer. And then, of course, like in any sport, you have the club swimmers as well.
Yeah.
And so, I guess I'll use this as a way to reach out to anybody in town. If you swim, we do have a swim team. We swim at a great facility at Wheaton College. I would say we're probably one of the luckiest schools in the league. Yes, we swim before school every day.
Do you want to say how early it is, Joe?
They go 5 to 6:30 a.m., but we have a bus for the swimmers to come back to school so parents can rotate and drop the kids off.
Yeah.
But on the other side, the first couple weeks of the season, getting in shape, there's a lot of practices. But once we get into meet season, John sets up a practice schedule. So if we have a meet on Wednesday, we don't swim the morning after. So he works the schedule. So after you get to a certain point in the season, it's not as taxing getting up in the morning. But the upside to that is, that as student athletes, they're done it too. They can get their extra help, get their homework done, come home, and they're done for the day. Obviously everybody wants to sleep at least till 6 in the morning. To get ready for school. But on the other side, they're home and they get their extra help after school, and then they can be home and then get their stuff done, have dinner, and really be done and get to bed. So, there's ups and downs to both things. But, I didn't get to the banquet this year because we had a home basketball game. But I know, it's a great group of student athletes, and it's a group that works very hard. And, like anything else, we're proud of them. And, I think it's difficult at Mansfield in some ways because if you don't have a winning season, people wonder why. But I think in this case, it wasn't from lack of effort. I think it's just lack of numbers. And just like when your guys ran through track, we'd go against someone, we'd have more numbers. The coaches spread kids out. They don't get tired. And then you're not doubling and tripling, doubling in every event. And all of a sudden, you're pulling out wins. So like I said, I'll use this as a forum to help Coach Reum. If anybody wants to swim, we definitely have a swim program, and it's at Wheaton College, so it's as good a facility as you can get. It can be taxing with the morning practices, but we do have an AM bus to bring the kids back, so parents can drop kids and rotate during the week.
One final question on swimming. That's great information, and I really think it starts with the numbers game. But the league meets, is it similar to like the indoor track at Reggie Lewis?
Yeah.
This is the whole league?
So the whole league goes, they divide it in 2 days.
Okay.
But there's a dive day,
Okay.
and they did that at Massasoit this year because they had a better dive situation. And then they have a boys' day and then a girls' day. And it's all at Milford. It's very similar to the track meet. So, there's a league meet champion, and the all-stars are earned at that, and awards are earned at that meet, just like the track meet.
All right. Well, since we mentioned track twice, why don't we segue into that? I'll give you your voice of rest. Both boys and girls undefeated, and talk about the dual meet versus the league meet. And
so the dual meets are basically the league because we're in 2 divisions.
Yeah.
We run against only Kelly Rec's side, which is really more of a function of how many weeks there are in a season. And the track coaches all the track coaches want to use the state meets on the weekend as a way to get the athletes better. A couple of things are going on in track. One, it's the dual meet season, and they're trying to prep for that. 2, it's getting them ready for the states meet season, so they go to the MSTCA meets on the weekends at Reggie Lewis. And they take certain athletes to those so they can see their talent outside the Hockomock League or outside our area because it's all Eastern Mass mostly, I would say early in the year from the MSTCA meets. And those MSTCA meets get us really ready for the meet that I think the track coaches really like, which is the league meet. And we won the league meet, both boys and girls. And really what that is that we were able to outrun all our competition, outthrow and outrun our competition on both the boys and girls side. So we won our division, which is Kelly Rex, which is excellent. But then we were technically, there's no award. I mean, we do get a plaque that basically signifies that we're the league meet champions. And I think if you were to sit with the track coaches, that would be one of the measuring sticks that would say, okay, you know, there was the dual meet boys on one side, dual meet boys on the other side. We won the league meet, and the same for the girls. Girls dual meet, girls both sides, but we won the boys and girls. League meet. Kind of signifies that we're the best program this past year.
Yeah.
And I think in the coaches' eyes, they'll look at it that way.
Yeah, I don't think they would argue. Mansfield, and those of you at home, everybody knows Coach Collins retired on the boys' side after this past cross-country season.
Right.
We had Coach Kevin Butera on. You know, it just kept going on.
Right. Kevin's
did a great job.
You know, obviously Ellis is a very good coach, and he's done a wonderful job. But in Kevin's situation, you're following Julie, and Julie did a good job. She did a good job at everything. But we started talking when when it got to the point where you knew she was getting to the point where it's coming, and we would sit and talk. She goes, "Well, I'm going to go out and start looking for people." And she found her and Kevin hooked up, and Kevin worked for her for 2 years, and both in cross country season and dual meet season. And she kind of brought him along. Kevin was also a head coach in Walpole. Yeah. So between those two things, Kevin brings a lot of knowledge and passion to the sport of track. And it was a great fit to follow Julie. And he's done the kids they know him, and the boys and the girls, because he works with both, have always responded well to him, to his training and his demeanor. I think his demeanor is very much like Julie's, where you never hear him yell. He's not screaming. A lot of conversational type coaching with high expectations. And I think when you think of Julie, she never really. I mean, her tone would go up, but she didn't yell. Yeah. And Kevin's very much the same, as is Derek. I mean, they just have that demeanor where they know how to talk to the athletes. They know how to pull out things from the athletes. And Derek, it was nice for Kevin to come in his first year and get a dual meet championship and a league meet championship. I think it helps him transition. And conversely, I think Julie made sure that certain things were in place to help him succeed as well. Yeah,
and I'm glad you brought that up about Derek too, Derek Ellis, because he's very mild-mannered, as a compliment to him, and the girls really respect him. And my joke, which I don't think I told him, is like the only thing that could have beaten the boys into a track team was the girls, because the girls actually, I think they might have scored a couple more points, even though they were different competitions.
Right, exactly.
But both highly successful. And then one shout out is I think the girls 4x8 set a school record in the divisional or the all-state.
I think they went to New England and did that. I think they did that in New
broke
England.
10 minutes, so 9:49 or something. Really good.
Coach Ellis and I have ordered the sticker, and hopefully it's getting processed at Nally, and it'll be up on the record board hopefully by April. Okay. We're just waiting for it to come in.
Yep. And hopefully we'll get a minute at the end of the show to talk about the trophy case and the record board.
Yeah.
So let's go to hoop.
Okay.
Let me see. That was girls track. We'll do girls hoop.
Okay. It's a
Coach Mike Redding.
Yeah. So the girls had another phenomenal year. I mean, second place. But this group of senior girls have really done a great job. I think the thing that most impressive to me is their compete level, and their no matter what the score was, no matter what time it was in the game, I don't think you could ever count these ladies out. And if you look at the group of ladies, most of them are multiple sport athletes. I mean, we're looking at a group of ladies that were, soccer, basketball, and some lacrosse, some track, and then some are field hockey, and then basketball and track or lacrosse, and then there's a couple that are basketball, softball, but they're all athletes, and they all know how to compete, and none of them like to lose. That's that group. And I think there's moments during the year that we probably should have lost games, and between the adjustments that the coaching staff made, but also this group of senior girls, they really didn't know how to lose, and I mean that in a complimentary way. Like, they found a way most often than not. And if you're going to beat them, you were going to beat them playing their style. And really, you could see that at how when they went into Braintree. I mean, Braintree is obviously the state champion again.
Yeah.
And they basically, after us, really didn't have, I think they had a couple tough games, but nothing like our game where they had to have their best shooter hit a three-pointer to beat us.
Yeah. 43-39 final,
yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, it was one of those moments where I think we had them, and I think if you were to watch the film, I think it bounced off 4, 5 players' hands and landed in the only player's hands that we didn't want Braintree to touch, and the girl is a very good player, hits the 3, and they get up by 2, and then free throws. But we changed. I mean, the ladies in the basketball program changed the way Braintree wanted to play. They made it into a very difficult physical defensive game, not dirty but physical, and made them earn every point. And might have been their toughest game in the run to get to the state championship. And I compliment. To me, it's obviously always a compliment to the coaching staff, but to the compete that those ladies played with.
Yeah, no, you brought up a lot of good points. I think Coach Redding said there were 10 seniors, which I don't know if Coach Vaughn and him would want to admit, but usually you don't really want to have that many seniors. But and I don't want to put words in his mouth. They were all good, and they were all athletes, and they were all competitors, and they were all talented.
And the other impressive thing is, even if they did have moments, you would never know. If Coach started one group, you never saw anything on the bench.
Yeah.
If Coach put in someone at a particular time, you never saw that on the bench. I mean, they were such a great group that, from where I sat and watched the game, that you never sensed like, oh, she's, like we got 10 seniors. They're all competitors. I'm sure in the back of their head, they all feel they should start. And a compliment to the coaching staff again to teach them their roles, but also a great compliment to them to know that, when I get in, that's going to be my moment, and I'm going to give something to the team during my moment. And they really checked their egos at the door, because I think if you looked at all of them, they were all high-end players in every sport they played.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of a couple examples. I mean, there's this, a couple, Steph Kemp's going to play Division I soccer at Lowell. I mean, give her a shout. Emily Vision, top soccer player. Maddie Bendenillo, softball player. Her sister, Cara. I can't tell them apart. Can you?
They tell me you can, but I will honestly say I can't. I just smile at both of them and wave, really, most of the time.
Yeah,
I won't use names.
Maggie Danahy, I think she plays field hockey, lacrosse, and basketball.
Yes.
And I like to have all my guests on, and we won't. Coach Redding is a big believer in multi-sport athletes.
Exactly.
A lot of coaches really like that, but it's hard if you have a star or a really good athlete. You want to keep them to yourself a lot of times. So it's good that the coaches and the players kind of adapted to that.
And it would take them a couple weeks, to get their basketball legs. And we were always with this group. They were always a better team at the end of the year than they were at the beginning of the year, and they would get their basketball legs and their basketball fitness, and then all of a sudden, they were just a whirlwind of a team to play.
Boys hoop, they ended up 22-5, I believe. Last year's Division I state title, the only place you can go is repeat or down, and no way, shape, or form would this be a down season. Again, as a fan, I thought, they graduated, I think, almost the whole starting 5, maybe 4 out of 5 starters. Big, not surprised, but third straight trip to the Division I South Finals and 7 out of the last 10
years.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and again, it's, there's a couple things going on, and obviously very good coaching. Mike has high expectations. His coaching staff follows along with that. There's a lot of good, just like the girls team. And, the guys work hard. I think we win games, it's from their preparation and their desire to win. And at the program, just like the girls basketball program, since we're just in basketball now, I think there's this feeling like we're not going to let last year's team down, and we're going to build on next year. And so the underclassmen this year, and the seniors this year, realize that, we don't want to be the team that doesn't get the league championship. We don't want to be the team that doesn't get at least a couple wins in the tournament. And honestly, at this point, just like our girls team, they don't know how to lose. They don't take good to, they're not particularly good losers, which as long as there's good sportsmanship, but you don't want to, And the other side of it is, I think because of the tradition in both programs, but since we're talking about boys right now, when they come on the floor, I think, when they come on the floor and they come out and they hit their early shots in a game, I think it's very difficult for other teams to hang with that. And then, they run their offense and they wear teams down, and if it's relentless, and if one person isn't hitting a three, another one is, and if one person's not open, then the next guy is, and they just really, as a group, did an outstanding job of to repeat as state champions would be incredible, but to get to the South Sectional Final and defend all the way to the South Sectional Final again, and to lose to a Newton North team that's excellent, well coached, great tradition in their own right, and to get to that point, just like the girls, to get to Braintree. I mean, when you start losing to the Braintrees who win state championships and the great programs like Newton North on the boys' side, there's no shame in that season, And to get 3 wins in the tournament, you won 2 at home, and then the win at Taunton, and even I know we played Taunton in Taunton, but Taunton's the neutral site. To get that win over Taunton, to get 3 wins in the tournament is just special. I mean, when I think we're averaging 20 plus wins a year over the last 4 years, I want to think.
Wow.
In boys basketball and girls basketball is right up near there as well, and it's. It speaks for itself, and the seniors did a great job this year of pulling everybody along. You have 3, and they had to find a way to balance, who's starting, who's not starting, what their roles are, figuring out their roles, and by the end of the year, I think we had a good thing going. They had that finally figured out, and had a nice deep run into the tournament.
Yeah, and bad news for the Hockomock. They mentioned Tommy Dooling, Christian Connor, and Damani Scott, 3 seniors graduating. They started 3 underclassmen.
Right. So they have a good group coming back, but the thing is, people, you look at that and you say, oh, we got these kids coming back, we should automatically win. And you know what? Every season is different, and they're going to have to start at 0, and meaning ground 0, and rebuild and do all the little things to get better. And no one's the nice thing about playing for Mansfield is it's a winning tradition. The other side is you have everybody, you can save someone's season with 1 win over you, right?
Oh yeah.
And so that they when people come to our gym, we're playing the Hockomock League champ and South Sectional finalist, and that's a measuring stick game, and we're going to get everybody's best. So we have a good group coming back, but it's going to be a tall order to continue to do what we do at the level that they do it at.
That's impressive. We could talk all day about the hoop team, hockey team. One of the many spots I don't know a lot about is gymnastics.
Right.
And I think it's almost all female. I think last year they had a couple
years back. We had a guy.
I think there's co-coaches.
Nikki
Luongo.
And Lisa Nastis.
Yeah.
So really, I'm glad we're talking about gymnastics at this point. So the gymnastics program really has been, and I was just at their banquet last week, and it was a great night. When we stopped breaking things down, so the last 3 years, they've been league champs. Okay. They've won the league meet. They've been South Sectional champions for 3 years in a row. And they've been runner-up in the state 3 years in a row. And their runner-up has been by 1 point. We're 1 point away from at least 1 or 2 state championships when you add up the 3 years of losses.
Yeah.
Our big rival in the South is Bridgewater Raynham, and they're a co-op, I believe, with West Bridgewater. We beat them in the South Section of the last 3 years, and the 2 years prior to this, we lost to them in the state final. This year, we got by them, came in second in the state final, but we lost to, I think, Massasoit Linfield, one of the North Shore schools, and another co-op, but our scores were phenomenal. Usually, to qualify for state, you're about 140. I think there was meets this year we were scoring like 147. So to understand scoring, so there's 4 events, the beam, the vault, uneven, and floor. 6 athletes participate in each. Okay. You add up their scores for each, and then you add up so the team score for that, so I'm using my hands, but so if we do vault, there's 6 scores, right? Yeah. There's 6 scores, and then you add up all 6 scores for each event, and then you add that in total. And usually when I'm not going to be good at math in my fingers, but when you look at 147, divide that by 3, by 4, you start looking at, oh my God, there's a lot of 9s and
Yeah.
high 8s on each event. And
So with the higher level meets, Joe, I know in track and swimming you need to qualify, but do they have 6 athletes at even at the state level? Or
right.
they...
So when we get to the state level, then it starts breaking down.
Okay.
So in gymnastics, you have 2 all-arounds, meaning that they do all 4 events. And then you have your athletes the 4 other athletes that can do multiple events, but not all 4. And the coach has to be strategic. Obviously your all-arounds are great because you already have them locked in. And then your next 4, you have to use strategy like what do they score, what do our opponents score, and then figure out how to, where to set up the athlete to succeed. And Nikki and Lisa do a great job with that. And it's been an incredible run. And we're losing our 2 senior captains, Julia and Jackie, and who are all-stars themselves, but we still have 3 all-stars returning, and so they're going to be in good shape for another year or two, another couple of years. And really, I think you when you look at what gymnastics did, and if it was hockey or basketball or any other sport that was, I think your guys ran track. No matter what they did in track, it wasn't as big a deal in the town because people, it's, let's face football, basketball, baseball, and on the girls' side, you argue what those sports are. But, all the great things track did, people that in the know were very proud, and everybody at the school is proud of them. So what gymnastics has pulled off the last 3 years is next to phenomenal, and they have a good, like I said, they have a good group coming back, and their 2 all-arounds are coming back, and they'll be in the mix again for the next couple of years for Hawk titles and state titles. So it's a great season.
One quick question: do they practice at Mansfield High, or do they practice over at Arnold's Gymnastics?
They're at Arnold's Gymnastics,
Okay.
and sometimes they're up at Metro, depending on when they can get a good time. And a lot of the girls in town do club gymnastics at Arnold's, which obviously helps us too. I mean, we have having the girls train at Arnold's and then come to our team, and then much like basketball, there's clubs like AAU basketball and junior hockey or club soccer. There's club gymnastics, and a lot of our athletes do that as well.
Yeah. So one last sport, and again, I consider it a sport because Erin Hogan and Lauren Bowen came on to talk about cheerleading. But does it fall into your venue, Joe?
Yeah. So the league has taken it on.
Yeah.
I think so. We do consider it a high school sport, and there's MIA competition. So the girls were phenomenal this year, and they qualified all the way to states. So they did the Hawk, the regional. They kept moving on, and they went to the All-States. I believe they were 11th finisher in the All-States, which is incredible. Erin took over the program about 5 years ago and has done a great job. She's a teacher in the district. She's at JJ as a 5th grade teacher, and then she brought on alum Lauren Bowen this past year, and Lauren cheered both at Mansfield and at PC.
Providence,
So she's brought that knowledge to the team, and then Lauren also was a softball player. So I mean, she was a multi-sporter athlete herself, and she also cheered. And they've just done a phenomenal job of bringing that program along, and they're doing like all our other sports now. They're involved with the youth. They're inviting the 8th graders to practice like our other sports do, and just continue trying to build that and keep moving it along.
Yeah, and they're unique too because not only are they competing at those many competitions mentioned, but they're at the football and basketball. I think those are the 2 sports. And supporting them, and it takes their time, and their energetic spirit, and it's great.
So the thing that helps, they bring an energy to the game in the gym.
It might be a separate group sometimes.
So I think in the fall they have competition cheer and sideline cheer, game cheer. In the winter, it's all one group, and it works twofold. One, they bring some energy to the gym. They bring energy to the gym with the DJ and the music and everything, but they also get to practice some of their things that they got to get ready to do in front of people at competition at the basketball game. So it does serve as kind of like a dress rehearsal, I want to call it, and getting the nerves out of the girls. Getting in front of a 3/4 full or full gym. Get ready for that when they go to the state competitions. That all eyes are on you. And so it's been a great year for them as well. That the fact that they progressed to where they progressed, and from the Hawks to the state to the regional to the All-State. And 4 or 5 years ago, we weren't even close to that. So it's a great, great year for them.
It's amazing, and I think it's at least 10 sports. We cover them all. 2, 4.
I think we got them all
6,
in.
7,
Let me check
8,
my notes
9,
too. I don't want
10.
I'm sure I'll get a phone call
10
if
or
we
11.
missed them. Yeah. So I think we got them all. Yeah, winter's crazy like that, and that's why we were talking earlier.
Yeah.
The difference between spring and winter. So when you start looking at winter sports, I mean, basketball's at the school. And track's at the school, but wrestling is at the middle school, swims at Wheaton, girls hockey floats between a rink in Bridgewater and Walpole, boys hockey's at Foxborough, and so we're a little bit everywhere, and everybody's at a different time. And then the cool thing about the fall becomes, everybody's at home again, so you can walk around and see everybody.
Yeah.
It's a little bit nicer that way.
It's nice. And again, everybody has to go back and watch episode 10 because Joe talked about how it's just not magical that Mansfield becomes as successful as again, and not to pick on a team that didn't have a 500 record. Joe doesn't define success necessarily by wins and losses, but just to have a really incredible sports program. It takes so many aspects.
Right.
It's
like
everything.
The other thing I really want to bring up is over the winter, we, the Kelly Rex and the Davenport, and then the Moscato. So we ended up in second to Franklin. We averaged 7.5. We were 7.5 wins out of 10 over the thing, and I think Franklin ended up, I'm checking my notes here, was 7.7. So I mean, we're 7.5.
10 points for first, Joe?
Yeah,
Is that how it works?
So 10 points, and to be at that level, to be that close to Franklin and compete is wonderful. And then the other thing that really was a great thing, that another great feather in our cap this winter, the Sportsmanship Awards, boys basketball. At the end of the season meeting, they vote for all-stars and honorable mentions. And then the other thing they do is they vote sportsmanship. And so you get nominated. Someone says why they're nominating you. And so the following sports earned recognition is sportsmanship: boys basketball, our girls ice hockey program, our girls indoor track program, and then our boys basketball program was honored by the MIA at the basketball game at the Garden. Our boys, we played Canton earlier in the year,
that was a great
and they did
event.
the game for X. He's an athlete that was, I believe it was a stroke, I'm thinking, and but he couldn't play basketball anymore. And Canton High School did a nice night for him. Mansfield took part in it. We set it up so the athlete would have a moment, and Canton nominated us for sportsmanship, and then the MIA, they gave us, they recognized us. So really, not only are we winning, but we're also, been good sportsmen on the field and sportswomen on the field, and it all kind of coming together. It fits into the mission of the school district, of everything that the school wants, and the district wants.
Yeah. So, I think we're going to have Teresa Murphy on if you come on a third time because, and Jack O'Neill, who's the man behind the scenes that does everything. I said Joe runs the show, but it all starts with Teresa. But I think, maybe on if you come in the spring, we'll kind of tie in, the community, the athletics, and the academics, and because Teresa is not only at all the community events and the plays, and she's at a lot of the sports events.
Yeah, she loves coming to the games, and to that point, I very appreciative of Teresa coming, and a lot of the administrators are there. Both our assistant principals are there. Principal Mary Watkins is there for many of the games, and walks around. Josh Fogel, Tim Tahashik,
Coach Selman.
Abby, all our assistant principals, they're at various events. In the fall they'll go out and walk around, watch a game a little bit. In the basketball season they show up. They show up to tournament games when they can, and they really support the kids. And you're right, it starts with Teresa, and Mike Conley still shows up at games. Ed Donahue shows up, our business superintendent, assistant superintendent in charge of business, is at quite a few games. He likes to come and hang out and watch the basketball, and he'll show up at various events and football games and soccer. And so they come by and they make their presence and they check in, and they're really very much supportive of athletics, and I'm very appreciative of that. And it makes, again, we talk about the community, and that's the type of people that are involved with our kids, and the kids see that, the athletes see that, and I think they're very appreciative that, wow, I'm being noticed at many levels, you know.
That's great. And before, Joe's going to give a quick spring preview,
Yeah.
but do you know where we stand after the fall and the winter compared to Franklin?
I think we're in the Val Moscato on our side. We're probably right behind Franklin.
Wow. Yeah.
So we're going to need a strong spring, and you know, it's. I think we're looking at the spring season. Baseball's returning a good core of guys, and they've got a good thing going. I mean, they made Super 8 last year. You know, we talked about this at the first meeting. You know, I build the season in many ways, and the what I try to talk to the coaches about. So, you know, one game at a time, especially in this time of year, it's all 18 to 20 game seasons. So you can't be too excited with a win, and you can't be too down on a loss. So, you know, so overall, before we get to specific sports, you know, I think, you know, our first goal is obviously to win a first game, then win a league game. I learned this from an old-time coach that I used to work with, and then try to get to the 500 point, qualify for state tournament, and then look at where you are, keep improving on your state tournament seed, and then with that, you can be in the mix for a league championship. So that being said, I think the baseball program, if you were to sit and talk to the players, are looking towards, you know, I think in their mind, they're already in the tournament. So that's where Coach, you know, Hall and Coach Breen have to keep them grounded and make sure they get to you know, get the small steps done, which they'll do. And I think they're in, you know, I think ultimately their goal is make the, you know, obviously in their mind's eye, they're already in the tournament. But can they win the league championship and qualify for Super 8 again? I think that's what's on their mind as goals, and which would be great for the town and the program to be in the Super 8, because that's really the elite baseball programs in the East, in the whole state. So I think that's what baseball kind of sees themselves going. Softball has a good core returning, and with some of those same seniors that were in basketball, and I think they're gonna compete hard, and you know, I mean, we're in a very difficult division in softball. I mean, if KP isn't in the state championship game, Taunton is, and we have 4 games between those two. But I think every other game,
Milford's had a good program.
Milford had a good program, but we only play them once.
Right,
so I think they were in the Division II state final, maybe, or one. They were in the mix as well, and you know, but I think we have a good group of ladies, and they're in the, you know, they're getting ready and they're ready to go. And I think that you know, I don't want to say a loss is a loss, but you know, realistically, those 2 teams are the best in the state, KP and Taunton, but I think we can compete with everybody else and beat everybody else, and not that any of them are going to be easy, but I think they have a quality enough group of girls coming back that I think we can be in the mix to make the state tournament again.
Coach
there as well.
Lori Latendry, how many years? I mean, she's been around a while. As a compliment.
That's a great question. How long? I think it's 5. I think it's 5 now, believe it or not.
5 years?
I think she's.
Oh, I thought she was, okay.
I think maybe even a little bit longer.
Because I know her daughter, at least one or 2 of her daughters play.
She's had both of her daughters. One's in now and one's already gone, and she's a senior in college. So you're right. Maybe it's 6 or 7 years now for her.
Okay.
Time goes fast.
Yeah. So, you know, before you go to the other sports, is there, you know, if the girls' softball team is home, the boys, they're going to, do you do
So
the schedules
basically
with
how the
baseball's
schedule's
home?
done is varsity softball's home, varsity baseball's away.
Okay. All right.
If varsity softball's home, I think girls' tennis is home, boys' tennis is away. So there's a rotation of the schedule.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, what's the most, just say in the spring, how many games can you actually, varsity games, say, are?
Oh, I love this. I mean, I love all the seasons, but the great thing about the spring is, you know, at 3:30, if I head out the door, I can walk up through through Alumni Field, catch a little bit of lacrosse, head up, catch a little bit of tennis, then walk back, and then catch softball or baseball for a few innings, see where they're at, and then head back, and, you know, I'll get some good steps in. But it's fun because you get to see a little bit of everything. You get to see how the coaches are doing. You get to see the athletes. You get to see the parents, and it's a nice time of year. I think for parents it can be tough because the games are 3:45, 3:30. But for just pure excitement on school grounds, it's cool because you nice vibe going all out. You know, from 3:45, 4 o'clock to 6. You know, it's a cool vibe going on.
That's great. So lacrosse, boys and girls, whichever one you want to do first. Just a quick preview.
So the boys have, again, I think, you know, both. Actually, we can do both teams.
Yeah.
I both have, again, some great kids coming back. And I think from talking to the coaches, they feel confident that if everybody works hard and works on their skill set, we have a shot at the tournament in both sports. I think we were in both last year. Both have a similar schedule as last year. And you know, both have a good core of kids coming back, and I think they'll be in the mix for the tournament. You know, and you know, like I said, I look at my first goal for all the coaches is, you know, can we get to the tournament? And then if we get into the tournament, we worry about the next thing. And I think both those teams will be definitely in the tournament mix.
Yeah, and I'd like to interrupt you before we go into the final track and tennis, but you know, I know you, Joe, I know you talk to your coaches, if not daily, I mean weekly, but probably daily, all of them. But do you have a preseason meeting, say, this is tryout week for those of you at home, like a week or two before season, or there's no need for that?
I try to do it individually.
Yeah, okay.
You know,
because every sport's so unique.
It's unique, and there's specific questions from each coach.
Yeah.
You know, I know some guys, some do a big meeting, and then they hand out everything, but I tend to meet with the head coaches, and then I kind of ask the head coaches to get the information to their assistant coaches, and then the assistant coaches and then we have packets, they come by the office, and we check in with the assistant coaches as well. But I try to do preseason meeting with each head. I do preseason meetings with each coach. The spring is tough because usually in March, trying to get those meetings along with the tournament games, but I definitely get a good sit down with each. And if not, you know, in March, it's usually in February or January, we start talking about the season and numbers and how many kids and, you know, what are we looking at, and, you know, like for, you know, baseball, talking to Joe Breen and securing time at RBI. And by doing that, we secure track time in the gym at the high school as well as softball practice time. So, you know, have that preseason meeting with Joe, get that done, and then preseason meeting with Lori and talk about you know, what time softball needs to be in and her numbers and what equipment she needs, and then talking to the track coaches and what do you need for equipment. And the track coaches are around so much, it's easy to get a hold of them.
Yeah, yeah. So we've talked about indoor track, which outdoor track's a little bit different, but tennis, what are you
So tennis, the boys have a very good group coming back. I think they should qualify for tournament and make some noise in the league standings. Girls have a good group coming back. They missed the tournament last year by a match, but you know, there's some good enthusiasm there. We have a few good underclassmen coming up and a couple 8th graders that I hear good things about. So, you know, the key with tennis on both sides is your first, second, and third singles, and if you have quality people there, and then developing your doubles, and if you can find some athletes, tennis athletes, both boys and girls, that have singles experience and get them locked in, then you develop your doubles by finding your next best athletes, and then the next best tennis players. But a lot of times, you know, and I'm going to say this for tennis, if kids are looking for a sport, tennis is a great sport. We have, you know, Lisa Urancian and Nancy Zamino and Gary Bellistock are all tennis players themselves. They are very passionate about the sport. And if you're an athlete, or if you're someone young in town, and you're thinking about a sport and you can't seem to find your niche, and you're in the middle school, you know, tennis is a great spring sport, and they're very good coaches. And if you have an aptitude to play, they're gonna help you find your skill set, and they're gonna help you compete. And all three are very much involved with USA Tennis. They still all play themselves, and they have connections, and they could help the athletes, you know, find camps or find tennis clubs where they could go and improve their skill sets in the off season. The other nice thing about tennis is if you play another sport and you're looking for a second sport or third sport, it's really Monday through Friday, and then, you know, practice, they share the facility, so there's plenty of time to get done. And if you're playing an AAU sport or a club sport, you can still do this and still have your weekends. For the most, I think our weekends in tennis are, you know, the state singles and then maybe an MIA match for the tournament.
Okay. And did you mention, I might have missed it, where they practice, like on a rainy day in the spring?
So they use Brown Boulogne. We use that for tryouts, which is in Easton.
Easton, okay.
And then just to ensure that we have quality. I always say, when we schedule Brown Boulogne, the outdoor courts will be fine. And if we don't schedule indoor time, it's going to snow. We won't have outdoor courts. So this year, of course, we're well prepared for bad weather.
Yeah.
We looked like geniuses 3 weeks ago, and then the Parks Department had the tennis courts ready to go this week. Yeah. But it is chilly out and it is windy, and if you're trying to do evaluations, you want to have as ideal a setting to give the kids a great opportunity to try out. So we use Brown Boulogne from Monday to Thursday, and then starting Friday, they'll be outside.
That's great. So, a wealth of information. We'll skip track because even though it's probably one of my favorites, we talked a little bit. But Joe, there's so much involved.
The other thing I do want to say for track is that, it's a great sport to try. I mean, the thing I think when athletes look at track, and you know this from your guys going through and helping us at track meets, that track is multiple things going on. So if you don't like to run, but you can jump, you can do the high jump, or you can do the long jump, or you could do the triple jump, or if you're a heavier person, or if you don't like to run but you have some great upper body strength and you want to try a throwing event, then you got javelin, discus, and shot. So there's so many things going on that if you have an aptitude and you're looking for another sport, or say baseball doesn't work out, or lacrosse, or another sport, even in the winter, if you're a winter athlete and the sport doesn't work out, it's a great place to go. Great head coaches in both with Derek Ellis and Kevin Putera. I'm all about the kids participating and getting to, those experiences and challenging themselves and having those, you can speak to it with your guys, and I keep saying that because you've gone through, your guys did multiple sports. But, the great thing about track is you test your own mettle. You're running against your PR, you're throwing against your PR, it's personal goals. It's, all those little intangibles that will make you better as a student athlete, because those are the same things you're going to bring into the classroom. I have to make myself better today. Yeah. The only person that's going to make me better today. And that's, and if you can do that and that's kind of your deal, then, in the spring, if other sports don't work out, track's a great sport for you.
So Joe said it a few times. It really is important because I remember when my kids, I think you're 14, 18, 17, 16, 15 or 14, when you come into the meetings, the fall, the winter, and the spring, you want to play football or you want to do baseball, and we've talked about the success of Mansfield. It's very hard to make the teams. The freshman team maybe a little bit easier, but I've seen kids do it. They walk into the baseball meeting, they're like, so they walk next door to the tennis meeting, or they're like, three of my friends are doing track. So it's just great that you guys have that introductory meeting like 2 weeks, maybe a month before tryouts.
Well, we try to do it a good month out, and like this year we did it February 2nd, and there's a couple of things behind that. One, it takes forever to get everybody signed up, and Donna does a great job. Harrington does a great job of hounding the kids and hounding the coaches, but the other side is it's like a curriculum night would be for a parent. You come in, you actually physically, especially the underclassmen, you get to see the coaches. You get to hear what the coach's vision is for his program or her program, and then you get to understand what's expected at tryouts far enough out that even if I'm a winter athlete, I know my conditioning from winter will carry me into March, and now in March I continue that conditioning, but then I can start doing the things that I'm going to get tested on in tryouts. So when I walk into tryouts, if it's a tryout sport, I know what skills are going to be asked of me. My parents know who the coaches are. They know how to reach out to the coaches if need be. And I think that familiarity helps both the coaches and the athletes. And I say this at the preseason meetings, especially if you're an eighth grader now and you happen to see this, you should try freshman sports, especially in the fall. I know some of the coaches, I know Mike's called the first freshman football meeting because, we just want to introduce them to the weight room. But even if you didn't get to that meeting, you can still play freshman football. In the fall, we have freshman field hockey, we have freshman boys and girls soccer, we have freshman football. So all our core big, team sports have a freshman team. And just try it. More often than not, the cool thing about freshman sports are a few freshmen, they're probably going to get called up to JV. or you'll rotate between JV and varsity. And the coaches are always looking to fill a freshman team.
Yeah.
And then you get to play a full season, and you get to do something that maybe other people don't do. And then you make friends. You make some friends that may last a lifetime.
Yeah.
I think you played sports. I play sports.
Oh, yeah.
I still talk to people that I played high school sports with. And then the other side of it is, you challenge yourself, especially going into your freshman year. Now you've played freshman sports. You tried out. Freshman sports have gone on for 2 weeks. You know the school. You know the locker room. You've made friends. You've kind of gotten yourself into that mode of I'm already in school. You never know what's going to happen over the next 4 years. You might not make the team your junior year, or sophomore year, but you know what? You've competed, and you've completed something that a number of kids in the state or your peers when you grow older and go on to college or whatever you do post high school, and you say, "Oh, I played freshman soccer, or I did this, or I did that," and you'd be surprised how many people don't. So Mansfield has a great thing with the freshman sports, and my goal is to always fill those freshman teams. We build a complete freshman schedule, and just kind of a shout out to our incoming 8th graders that, I think our spring meeting is first week in June, and they'll be getting notices, but it's never too soon to, get that shout out that, we have all those freshman sports, and the coaches really, really want to get as many freshmen involved as possible.
That's great. And we'll wrap it up. A couple things. Do you know, I think there's about 1,200 kids in Mansfield High, boys and girls.
Give or there.
Do you know how many kids participate in sports?
I think at some point we did do things. I think it depends on the season and the doubles, but I think it's up in the high 60s. It's, it might be even during certain parts. In the fall, it might be 70% of the kids. Because it'd be just because of the number. You look at soccer. You've got 3 teams of 25. Boys soccer, 3 teams of 25. Girls soccer, 3 teams of 25. Football, 130, 120 kids. And then cross country, you got 30 on each side. And I know golf is another 25. I don't know. I'm going to forget someone.
No, right.
Cheerleading, that's going to be another 40. So when you start adding those numbers up, and you look at the numbers and your percentages, and I know I forgot someone in the fall, and I apologize.
No,
Field hockey.
That's a good way to look at it, because
another 70 girls, and all of a sudden you start looking at that number, and then you get into the winter, and then you got 3 levels in basketball, 3 levels in boys and girls basketball, and then we do JV in every sport in the winter.
There's some overlap, but I mean, in each season, you got it. Wow, that's amazing.
It's a good sized number, and and we talked about it. The first show was that comes from the community, and the community having great youth sports, and the high school coaches working with the youth sports, and then all the parents that coach and are encouraging to the kids to come and try and play sports for Mansfield High School. And I'm always grateful when I see the kids show up, and I'm grateful for what the parents do at the middle school and lower levels, trying to get the kids interested and helping them find their way to play sports at Mansfield High School.
Great, Joe. So as you know, I'm not good at segues.
Yeah, I made sure that my notes were here too, because I didn't want Roberta or the president of the Boosters or the vice president of the Boosters to get mad at us.
This ties into a community event next Wednesday. The Boosters, which I'm part of, but really, and Joe mentioned Donna Harrington. Joe and Donna are essential to anything that goes on with the community, the Boosters. So do you want to tell us a little bit about this?
I'll hold it up just so everybody can see it, Jack. So basically, I have a black and white one here to read from. So basically, we do this thing called March Madness. It's co-ed basketball games. There's 8 teams. We have teams featured. We have the police, the fire. They have a teacher team, students teams. Other community groups have teams. We do it in the Mansfield High School gym. It's free. Basically, we do 50-50 raffles. We sell food. The concession stand is where we make some money. All this money goes into the general fund of the All Sports Boosters, and it helps always. Any money that the All Sports Boosters gets is used to offset the costs of things that the athletic budget might not be able to cover, which we have a very generous athletic budget, but there are certain things that there's things that come up that we needed that extra uniform, or we need that extra this or that, and because we have a lot of athletes participating, And then there's things we like to get that are better, good teaching tools. So that the All Sports Boosters help us with that. And then the big projects we'll be implementing this year is the new trophy case. We've had a couple. We've got some prices and got some ideas, and we're going to move that forward. And then we're going to create a picnic area near the press box on Alumni Field for like a concession area.
Yeah.
And that's going to be our spring projects.
Not to put you on the spot about that, but will that be a little bit covered? Is that how?
We're hoping to figure out how to do some umbrellas. So
I got to protect my fair skin.
well, that and during double sessions or
Yeah.
the way the weather was this past year, we had double sessions with heat pretty high, so create some shaded areas. And then also, when you have a 3:45 game and it's September, there's a lot of sun, so a shaded area for the parents as well as for the athletes during double sessions to set up water stations and stuff and have a shaded place to go to will be great.
That's great. So it is Wednesday, March 27th, 6:30 at Mansfield High School. As Joe said, it's free. There is some donations, 50-50 raffle, but it's kind of a way for the boosters to give back because, as you know, we do a comedy show, which will be in November this year, and we're going to do we're doing the road race in June. So it's really trying to get the police, the fire, the teachers, the students, a couple of corporations and charities involved. It's really fun. The police, I believe, have won it 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
So the trophy's big.
Yeah, so we have a nice trophy, and the trophy's taken to whoever wins. So if the police win, I'm sure it's in the police station, and if say the fire wins, they could probably put it in the new fire station.
That's right.
Or the highway department, or so whoever's there, takes the trophy, and again, it's just another example of the community of Mansfield pulling together. And I keep saying that, but it's true. I mean, it's very special. It's a very special time.
That's great. Thanks a lot, Joe. Is there anything else you want to cover? And I'm going to have to invite you back a third time. I'm not going to have to. I want to.
No, I enjoy this. It's a
things.
great way to get out to the community, and for the 8th grade parents, if you happen to watch or word of mouth, sometime first week in June we'll do sign-ups for fall sports. There'll be notifications out, but we'll get that information out. It's sometime in the first week in June, and we do have freshman sports for all the teams. And we want to fill those teams up, and we complete. We have a full schedule, and it's just in very good coaching at all 3 levels. So, that would be hard to believe we're already talking about fall of 19, but it'll be upon us before you know it, and it's it takes a while to get information out there. So thanks. That's a big help.
That's great. So good luck to all those athletes out there trying out this week. We know it's difficult,
stress,
especially
a little bit
in
of
Mansfield.
stress.
But hopefully you make it. If you don't, just walk down the corridor. There's another sport to join. So again, thanks for watching, and Joe Russo, thanks
Always
a lot.
a pleasure to see you,
Appreciate
Jack.
it. Good night. We'll see you next time. Thank you.